we can actually go to Nigel Walker, who's a communications advisor of the Norwegian Afghanistan Committee, and he is ready to be evacuated. Nigel, first up, thank you so much for speaking to us on Republic. Why don't you tell me where you are and how is it right now? How are all of you holding up? What are you learning about the evacuation, Nigel?
From what I'm experiencing right now, there's actually been an increase of helicopter traffic. It's hard to know where they're coming from or going to. Once the American forces arrived yesterday and the day before, the helicopters were going to the embassy and bringing the American embassy staff to the airport, to the main airport. But there's also been reports of some fighting in the eastern part of Kabul, but I can't confirm that.
And Nigel, you know, there are a lot of reports right now coming in, but you are reporting live from Kabul right now. You know, I think we're the only channel right at this point from Kabul, courtesy of you right now, as we are looking at what's happening. What is it that you're hearing? What are the kind of reports that have reached you so far?
So the most recent report we've had is that there are senior members of the Taliban at the presidential palace discussing a transition, and that will be announced later today. We've also heard that the Taliban is positioned on all the major roads leading into Kabul, and then they've been told just to wait there.
Okay, and you know, Nigel, there are also a lot of reports coming in of choppers flying. You know, is that the sound that you have also heard? Is that what you have seen? What about the locals? What is it that you have seen around you or heard around you?
Yes, there's a lot of that. I'm not sure if you can pick that up on our microphone, but since we've been on it, there's probably been 3 helicopters. What happened this morning was very interesting in that our organization was trying to get our COVID test to fly. One of the big issues right now of trying to get on a plane is you can't get on a plane without a COVID test. So we tried to go across town to get our test. And during that time, there was gunfire reported in the Sharanau area, which was very close to our office and the clinic. And then it was reported that there were issues with police, and potentially there was an attempted bank robbery. Around about that time, the traffic in Kabul was completely deadlocked. And there were people streaming away from that particular area of town. Now, however, things have calmed down quite a bit. I haven't been back to that area, but I've had friends who were also trying to get their tests, and that they've also reported that it's become a lot calmer.
You know, Nigel, I think this is the first real person account that we are able to put out for our viewers on Republic. And I must thank you for, you know, taking out the time for us. You just spoke of a bank robbery now that you possibly did see. Now, there are also reports saying that a lot of long queues outside these banks and ATM machines are also being seen. Did you hear about them? What have you heard about this facet?
Yes, I've heard of a couple of instances, and I actually did witness a very long line outside of an ATM in that same area, Sharanau area of Kabul, and very long line outside an ATM, and it was becoming quite heated. Yesterday, we heard that the banks had stopped issuing any kind of currency. I think that has improved today, though.
Okay, you say that possibly could have improved. I was also reading reports that did tell us that a lot of locals have moved in, you know, to parks and to open places. Is that also what you've seen or heard, Nigel?
Yes, since for the last week, there have been thousands of people streaming in from surrounding provinces. and there are two parks that have, or two big parks that have received them. However, we've also heard that because there are services being provided at some of those parks, local people who need services have also shown up to those areas. Our organization was involved in providing some food and I think some blanket protections. And of course, we told our staff, we told our female staff that they wouldn't be able to go down there because it was becoming quite frantic. There's a lot of desperate people here.
You see a lot of.
Well, Nigel, this is Abhishek Kapoor from the studios here in Noida near Delhi. We want to understand what kind of humanitarian crisis is really going to pan out if Taliban really takes over Kabul.
Is this question to me? Sorry.
Yes, Nigel. Yes, Mr. Walker, this is for you. Since you are there on the ground, what kind of humanitarian crisis you see panning out, given the general understanding we have of Taliban vis-a-vis their conduct towards women, or about their conduct towards those who have facilitated the stay of Americans in Afghanistan for the last 2 decades, or for that matter, even the civilian employees of the Afghan government?
I think there are elements within the group, the Taliban, that are trying to do the right thing. But I also think there are elements that we don't know how they're going to react. We don't know what the long-term situation will be. We're hopeful that there'll be a peaceful transition. But at this point, it's hard to say without really confirming a lot of what we've heard.
Right. Are you suggesting that the situation might not be that bad and that the Taliban might have made some kind of tactical adjustment with their own true self or their second nature in terms of using the gun and indulging in violence?
I'd like to think so.
Any evidence of that on the ground?
Yes, I would say that we've had reports that they have reached out to different organizations and encouraged those organizations to keep working.
But what are the chances, Nigel, that this could be just tactical, given the fact that they want to capture power, and then over a period of time, over the next couple of months, they let vendetta run loose and pursue those who have been part of the government? We have already seen some exodus happening. Remember at the top with the likes of Marshal Dostum and General Atanur leaving, the Speaker of the Volesi Jirga leaving. We don't know what would be the fate of President Ghani and, say, Dr. Abdullah, the chairman of the High Council, once the change of or the transition of power happens and the Taliban government comes in. What is the sense? What is the sense you are getting from the ground, being there in Kabul, as to how the situation would pan out over the next, not next 1 week or so, but then after that?
It's hard to say. I mean, I can't really speculate on what the organization will do. I mean, we can hope for the best and hope that organizations like ours and journalists are allowed to stay here so we can continue to work and continue on report on what's going on. But I also think it's necessary for the international community to hold the transitional government, whoever it's going to be, the Taliban, to good behavior. And that's all I can say to that. Right now it's too early to say.
My final question to you, Nigel. You are there on the ground. You must have moved out in the streets before today. What is the general sense among the masses? Are they kind of accepting as a fait accompli? Are they actually apprehensive? Or, are there some elements within the Afghan society who are perhaps even welcoming the Taliban, given the speed with which the Taliban have really moved into Kabul?
Yeah, I would agree with that. The government here hasn't, like a lot of governments, hasn't been. There have been issues, so I think there are sections of the population who would welcome the change. Kabul, up until the last few days, had been relatively calm and business as usual.